So, a little while back, I made a Wildcat Revenge review, and it did pretty well, except there was one problem with it. And that is that I made the review after riding Wildcat Revenge just one time. So now that the 2023 Hersheypark season is officially over and I got many more rides on Wildcat Revenge, I think it is now time to make an updated review and also make the review more in-depth than the last one. So without further ado, let's hop straight into the review. Wildcat Revenge is located in the very back of Hersheypark in the Midway America section. And during my trips to Hersheypark this year, I found out a few things about when to ride this roller coaster. If you are a full-size and up-season pass holder, you will have this thing called early access from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And basically what this does is it lets you get into the park an hour early and you are able to explore most of the park all the way up to the Chick-fil-A. Once your early access time is up, they will open the gates up to the back of the park and you can run back to Wildcat Revenge. But I would suggest getting to the Chick-fil-A a little bit early because a lot of people will run back to Wildcat Revenge as soon as the gate drops. But even if you're not a season pass holder, I still have some advice for you. While you may be very tempted to go to Wildcat Revenge first in the back of the park, you may be surprised about how many people have the same exact idea as you. Instead, I would suggest going to Fahrenheit first because that is a lower capacity roller coaster and will get very long lines during the day. Wildcat Revenge has a morning rush, and based on my experiences this year, it usually lasts till about an hour after the park opens. From that point on, Wildcat Revenge's line will die down. And there will be a few times during the day, like around the lunch break, whenever the line will spike again. But the closer you get to park closing, the lower the line will be for Wildcat Revenge. And honestly, unlike some of the roller coasters at Hersheypark, you could ride Wildcat Revenge at pretty much any time because you're most likely not going to wait any more than 45 minutes. This is because Wildcat Revenge runs 3 trains and the operations are pretty good, so the line will be moving pretty quickly. Wildcat Revenge has barely any theming whatsoever. The only theming you are going to find on this ride are some posters of the Wildcat jumping through the boards in the station, and that's about it. But while you are waiting in line, there's a QR code that you can scan, and it will tell you the history of the roller coasters at Hersheypark named after Wildcat. So for Wildcat Revenge, you can either leave your stuff with a non-rider, or if everyone is riding in your party, Hersheypark provides free double-sided lockers. The name pretty much speaks for itself. If you don't really know how to use it, you put your stuff in one side and then get it out the other, and then just go out the exit. It's that simple. The only time you will ever have to pay for a locker at Hersheypark is if it's a group of lockers at the front of the park, and if you want to get an all-day locker pass for like the water park and stuff. Hersheypark has a very strict policy with bringing stuff onto roller coasters at their parks, especially with Wildcat Revenge. On most of the coasters in the park, they have cubbies in the station that you can put your phone or a hat and stuff like that, but on this ride, you have to put everything in the lockers. They will make you turn around and walk right back down those stairs and put stuff back in the locker. And the reason of this is because loose articles can be pretty dangerous for other riders on the train, especially on Wildcat Revenge, as it is a very intense and wild ride. Also, the reason for having no cubbies in the station is because there is a separate load and unload station. So basically, you don't get on and off at the same spot like on a lot of the other roller coasters at Hersheypark. Wildcat Revenge was manufactured by American roller coaster manufacturer Rocky Mountain Construction. RMC has built some of America's and the world's best roller coasters such as Steel Vengeance, Hakuge, and Iron Gwazi. They have also really been stepping up their game in the aggressive column with their thrill rides. So before I explain the layout of this roller coaster, I just want to say that Wildcat Revenge is one of the most aggressive roller coasters I've ever ridden. So now let's do an in-depth review of the layout of Wildcat Revenge. So first, Wildcat Revenge starts off with an epic pre-lift section like most RMC roller coasters. You start off with a slight outer bank bunny hill before going into a switchback and overbank turn and into the lift hill. This lift hill may start very slow at first, and that is because they are waiting for the other train to move off the brake run and into the unload station. After that happens, the chain picks up speed and you start racing to the top of the lift hill. This is not Hersheypark's tallest roller coaster as it only stands at 140 feet tall, but it is my favorite at Hersheypark because of the fact that it packs such a big punch. After you crest the lift hill, you drop into a 140-foot 82-degree drop. This gives amazing airtime in the last couple rows, and then you go into the world's largest underflip. This is the one record that Wildcat's Revenge holds, and it is a pretty fun element, although it is not my favorite inversion of the ride. You then rise up into an amazing ejector airtime hill that reminds me a lot of the triple camelbacks on Storm Chaser. This airtime hill has two head chopper experiences, one at the front going under the wave turn, and then one in the tail end of the element going under the stall. This is a good dose of ejector before going into a nice floater bunny hill and then into the first wave turn of the ride. Unlike the other wave turn on this ride, this one gives a quick pop of ejector, and it is high off the ground. After this element, you go into a great 0G stall that gives amazing hang time in the morning, but in the afternoon, it doesn't give as much hang time, but it is very snappy on the exit. Then you rise up into the second wave turn, and this one is lowered to the ground and provides a very strong dose of ejector airtime, and it is more sustained than the first one. And it leads into one of my favorite elements on the entire ride, and that is the weird double down element. This gives two good doses of ejector airtime while giving strong lateral forces. I believe this is one of the first times that RMC has done one of these elements on their rides, and honestly, I feel like this won't be their last. This is an amazing element. Then you rise into the snappiest inversion on the ride, and that is the first 0G roll. Towards the front of the train, this thing is so much snappier than the back, but the back is still also very snappy. This is also my favorite inversion on the ride. Then you entered overbank turn, and then into the second 0G roll, which gives a very good dose of hang time / just overall good pacing for the element. This kind of just feels like your average 0G roll. Then comes the finale, which are three back-to-back, very, very, very aggressive airtime moments. This is the perfect finale for this roller coaster, in my opinion, and it is one of my favorite finales on any roller coaster I have experienced. As you briefly heard me mention, I said Wildcat's Revenge was my favorite roller coaster at Hersheypark, and it is by a long shot, and it is also my number 4 overall roller coaster. And this statement is coming after I probably rode Wildcat's Revenge over 30 times this year. I hope you guys enjoyed this updated review of Wildcat's Revenge, along with some tips and tricks along the way. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.